Space-Godzilla's unique Heisei traits. Out of all the kaiju that appear in the Heisei period of Godzilla films, Space-Godzilla had at least a few characteristics that separated him from the lineup. While he wasn't the first kaiju cloned from Godzilla's cells, the other being Biollante, he was the first male monster formed from Godzilla's cells. Appearing in 1994, he was the only Heisei villain to serve as an anniversary foe for Godzilla, i.e. the 40th anniversary. And, not counting his crystal form used for flying, he was the only one of Godzilla's Heisei opponents to not have a secondary form. Baragon almost had a second chance. After a 15-year hiatus, Gamera finally returned to the big screen in 1995's Gamera Guardian of the Universe, or Giant Monster Mid-Air Battle. The role of the movie's villain was taken over by the supersonic pterosaur bat, Gauss, who had more screen appearances in the Showa Gamera films than the other 5 foes. Originally, the antagonist for the movie was written for the freezing monster, Baragon, Gamera's first opponent in his second movie. However, after realizing Gauss is so popular in the United States and in the United Kingdom, Daiei decided to replace Baragon with Gauss. With 6 movie appearances to his name, Gauss currently has the most movie appearances out of all the enemy monsters in the Gamera franchise, and even returned in the Gamera reboot series on Netflix. The independent Hedorah. Godzilla vs. Hedorah is noteworthy among the Tokusatsu fandom, not just for how unusual it is for its style and themes, but also for its dark and gritty premise that fully contradicts the kid-friendly tone of its immediate predecessor, Godzilla's Revenge. Hedorah is likewise well known for his design and nature, coming off not just as a formidable foe for Godzilla, but a very scary and intimidating monster overall. Aside from being the first extraterrestrial to appear in the 70s films, which always featured an alien kaiju for Godzilla to face, Hedorah was the final Showa series villain to act independently. The remaining kaiju in the succeeding films all carried out their actions through orders or brain control from another race of people, or aliens. Akira Ifukube's return to Godzilla. After completing 1968's Destroy All Monsters, film composer Akira Ifukube didn't return to the Godzilla series until 1975's Terror of Mecha-Godzilla, the 15th and last entry in the Showa series. In 1978, after completing the score for Love and Faith, he retired from film composition, spending his time as a music teacher. He was thoroughly disappointed with Koichi Sugiyama's score of 1989's Godzilla vs. Biollante, which used a popularized rendition of the famous Godzilla theme by Ifukube, who was a classical composer. He also called the Soradia theme ridiculous, claiming it sounded more European than Middle Eastern. Afterwards, his daughter suggested to him that if he wanted the scores to sound the way he wanted, he should consider composing the next sequels himself. Akira Ifukube did just that, starting with 1991's Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Minus 1994's Godzilla vs. Space-Godzilla, Ifukube remained as the series' film composer until 1995's Godzilla vs. Destroya, which served as his final film score. Maul and Miyuki. When Mothra was reimagined in the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy, her accompanying twin fairies were likewise included and updated for the new films. For the trilogy, after 30-plus years of being known as the Shobijin, a pair of miniature, almost identical fairies that talk simultaneously, the two new magical beings were known as the Elias, who not only talk independently, they look rather different from each other, and are given names, Maul and Laura, played respectively by Megumi Kobayashi and Sayaka Yamaguchi. In 2006, Megumi Kobayashi would return to the world of Tokusatsu as Miyuki Aizawa, Toru's deceased mother in Gamera the Brave. Knifehead's entrance. Does the fight between Gypsy Danger and Knifehead seem familiar? Out at sea on a dark, stormy night, sea vessel with a small crew aboard are suddenly attacked by a large creature. Seconds later, a second giant appears from the ocean depths to clash with the first monster, and it all happens within the first few minutes of the movie. Does it ring any bells? The whole premise of this scene was influenced by one of director Guillermo del Toro's favorite monster movies, and a fan-favorite monster movie overall, The War of the Gargantuas. The unused Mogira. To further demonstrate the lethality of their species, the Mysterians deployed Mogira, a monstrous robot who laid waste to a small village in Japan. In early development, Mogira was originally pitched as a living creature resembling a reptilian mole. This is the reason why he's called Mogira, or Mogura, which stems from Mogira, the Japanese word for mole. This mole-like creature was a burrowing quadruped with a drill-tip nose and a saw-shaped ridge on its back. The production staff decided Mogira should be a robot, to distinguish it from Toho's past reptilian kaiju, and to show off the advanced technology of the Mysterians. The robotic Mogira retained several traits from the cancelled organic design, such as the drill-tip nose, the saw-shaped ridge on its spine, and the shape of its tail. The success of Rodan. In 1957, 1 year after enjoying its tenure in Japanese cinemas, Rodan was released theatrically in the US under the title Rodan, the Flying Monster. In its first weekend, in only 79 theaters in the New York City metropolitan area, the movie grossed between $450,000 to $500,000, roughly $5 million today, and soon became the first Japanese film to gain strong success on the West Coast. Reportedly, Rodan broke box office records for a sci-fi film, and became the biggest success for its American distributor, Distributors Corporation of America. Probably so drunk off the film's success, DCA, when shipping later releases to exhibitors, would include the slogan, "From the company that brought you Rodan," even though they only distributed Rodan, not produced it. In fact, it was King Brothers Productions who created the American edit of Rodan. And this wasn't the King Brothers' only involvement with a giant monster production. The Kings of Western Monsters. King Brothers Productions was an American film production company founded in 1941 by the three Kaczynski brothers, Frank, Maurice, and Herman, who later changed their surname to King. Aside from numerous collaborations from established filmmakers, such as Philip Yordan and William Castle, the company is well remembered for employing a number of blacklisted writers during the Red Scare of the late 40s and 50s. 4 years after they dubbed Rodan, the King brothers and their company produced yet another noteworthy monster movie, Gorgo, which was directed by Eugene Laurier, who previously directed other monster movies like The Giant Behemoth and The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, the monster film that inspired Toho to create Godzilla. Goro Matsumi's voice. Among the Tokusatsu fandom, particularly the demographics outside Japan, actor Goro Matsumi is most prominently well known for his roles as Kuronuma, the leader of the Black Hole aliens in Godzilla vs. Mecha-Godzilla, and Moogle, the subsequent leader of the Black Hole aliens in Terror of Mecha-Godzilla. While these roles were his only 2 credits for the Godzilla franchise, it was far from his first work in Tokusatsu. In 1966, Goro Matsumi served as the Japanese dubbed voice for Dr. Paul Stewart, Russ Tamblin's character in The War of the Gargantuas.
生き返ったとしても海の中に住んでいるとは思われません。また船をひっくり返したり人間を食べたりするとは考えられません。我々の故郷ブラックホール第3惑星の最後が近づいている。どうしても地球がいるのだ。失敗は許されない。